let's start our conversation about digital security. I'm really excited to introduce you to our amazing expert today, Joe Williams. Joe Williams is the Senior Director of Information Technology at AOF, where he leads IT initiatives that drive secure, efficient technology solutions for a mission-driven organization supporting small business growth. With over 25 years of experience in the IT and financial industries, Joe has held executive roles in IT leadership, specializing in digital security, systems optimization, and data protection. His expertise spans both corporate and nonprofit sectors, providing him with a unique perspective on the challenges and opportunities in digital transformation and cybersecurity. It's great to have you here, Joe.
Wow, I want to meet that guy.
I know, I love hearing the wealth of experience you have, and we truly have just the perfect person to take us through something like digital security, which can feel kind of hefty. So, what are some of the best practices businesses can implement when it comes to protecting that data?
Encryption is just another critical piece of your security toolkit, and that's to make sure that if someone does get access to the data, that they're unable to do anything with it because it's encrypted. So protect the data. We say at rest and in transit. Maybe that's a little, like, what does that mean? But if the data is sitting like on a computer or on a server, the data needs to be encrypted. If I am sending data between two systems, that data needs to be encrypted on the sending end, then can be decrypted on the receiving end, only to be encrypted again. That's just to make sure that no one's in between and able to capture that unencrypted data and then have your data fully exposed. You can also implement things like having a practice or a procedure around having regular audits, go in and inspect what you expect, and just make sure that you're going in and you're able to see and confirm that the data was accessed or who accessed, or just making sure that you have some practices to make sure that you are watching what's going on within your business as it relates to your customers' data. And then as things come up, make sure that you're addressing them. So make note of them and then put in a plan to, I say, mitigate any vulnerabilities or things that you found, or maybe you do put an extra or a different lock on the closet with the sensitive computer, to where then the person that does come in and sweep every day, that does need a master key, they can get into every room except for the one that has your sensitive data and take care of that.
That is really helpful. It makes me think back on different roles where there might be sensitive information and it would just look like X's to me if I was logging in. And then for us because encrypted, decrypted, it's very fancy. And so I'm just curious, what does that look like? What is encrypted in like a normal everyday? How would someone do that?
Wow. So fortunately, you should not have to manually apply an encryption method to your data. Most systems will come with the ability for you to encrypt. It is likely going to come as an option. Like, do you want the data encrypted? If any of you are, using like a SQL database to house your sensitive data, there are options within SQL to where you can implement encryption. Maybe you are using a CRM like Salesforce. Salesforce has options to where then you can implement encryption on your data. They have some add-ons to it that allows specific field levels to do exactly what you just mentioned, Brittany, to where maybe you do have a customer database, but you want to protect people's social security numbers. So when Brittany goes to pull up Joe Williams's account record, it has all my data, but then the field that shows my social security number is just masked and it's not visible to me. So there's encryption, and then there's also limiting who has access to what. So it's like, I'm sorry, I will go back to encryption. Encryption, the data is still there. It's just there is an algorithm that gets applied to it that jumbles it all up. And the only way that it can be decrypted is with that magic decoder ring. Is with your decryption key, right?
Okay, passwords. I feel like this is this is the big one. Everything has a password, and password policies, they can be really tough for organizations, especially smaller organizations, to enforce. So, what are some tips do you have for managing those strong passwords?
A practical approach would be to use a password manager. Um, uh, there are password managers like LastPass or 1Password that can be used to help generate as well as store those sensitive passwords for you. So it'll create a nice complex password for you that then you could go ahead and create that account, leverage that password, and keep it stored away safe in your password manager. Um, Encourage your employees to use passphrases instead of just traditional passwords. Maybe make a sentence and then go through that sentence that you can remember. I'm trying to think of one without exposing a password I might have used. But I like to walk the dogs, and you go through and you write that out, and then you replace some of the characters with special symbols, and some of the characters with numbers, and maybe put in an underscore and things of that nature, just to where you can remember what it is. And then it's just a matter of you remembering how to replace the letters with your special characters or your up and lower cases, things of that nature. So it helps you do that as opposed to writing it down on a Post-it note and sticking it to your monitor. Um, uh, uh, Also enforce regular password updates. Some systems you can actually set them up, and it would force the users every 6 months, or every 3 months, once every 12 months, whatever. It would prompt you like, hey, this password is due to expire, so you need to create a new password, and then have rules set that you can't use the same password that you used the last time you changed your password, just to make sure that those passwords are fresh. Because unfortunately, there are tools you might see if you use like a Google account or something of that nature. You might get a warning that, hey, your password has been found on the dark web. Consider changing it. That does happen. So passwords get associated with your email address, and so they know you work for this place, and then they can potentially try to use that password they found on the dark web to gain access into some of your systems. So if you're sharing passwords amongst different logins, that's absolutely one thing it is that you should do immediately. Now is start planning to make sure that each of your sensitive accounts have different passwords, because once it's compromised, it can be associated with your email address. And unfortunately, most systems allow you to log into them with your email address as your account. So if they've already figured out your password for one account you're logging into and it's associated with your email, then they just go to other sites and they use that same combination of that same email address and the email that they've already found and got compromised. And then they can get into multiple of your accounts with that, especially if you don't have multi-factor authentication enabled for those accounts access.
Yeah, that's kind of like the extra security. And I like that you said that's one thing that, you should do today if you're on this call, because one thing is that is free, right? You can go into your different systems, you can change that password, and that is already going to make you more secure tomorrow than you were today. So I love that.
Absolutely.
So we are already out of time. We're actually a little over time. Once again, I feel like this topic is something that there could just talk about it for hours. So we are not leaving folks here without resources. I think the takeaway today is everyone go turn on 2-factor authentication and no repeat passwords and lots of other things, but those are my to-do list. So thank you so much, Joe, for your expertise and your time and making sure you move into a more digitally secure future for your business. All right, till next time, everyone. We'll see you in the next one.